Okay, Mrs. Castle here, and I'm going to talk with you about some painting techniques that you're going to need to know. So, and when you practice, I'm going to have you get a piece of scrap watercolor paper. You can try both sides. One side is very smooth, and the other side has a little bit of a texture to it. It's easier to feel than to see. So, I'm going to start out on the smooth side. And one of the first techniques that we're going to learn is a wash. Washes are the very basic things. Whoops, I hate when that happens. We're going to need a water dish, and you're going to need a set of paints and a little dish to mix in, and a brush, some vocabulary. Let's go back, and so you're still going to need all of those things, but a wash is, and this is a vocabulary word, so you need to get your pencil and write this down. Okay, a wash is an even application. That means you're going to put it on the paper of watercolor. Thinned with water. Thinned with water. Okay. All right. So if I have a shape, and it doesn't matter what the shape is, you're going to be painting a lot of different shapes. And most of you are going to be creating plain washes or a flat wash. So I'm going to put some water. The more surface area you need to cover, the more water you need in your cup. Don't dip it down in there, because then it gets water everywhere and nobody's happy about that. For what I'm doing, that amount of water is more than enough. And I have my watercolor paints. Notice I have taken out black and brown, and I've put a blue in the place of the brown. And there's no black. You're not allowed to use black. All of these have plenty of color in them. The blue is brand new. The green is nearly new. There's still a lot of red in there. Just because we can see those little white areas in the bottom of the watercolor pan does not mean it's empty. There's still plenty of watercolor around the edges right there. This one is empty. When your watercolor pan looks like this, then I will entertain the thought of replacing it. But if it's not completely empty like that, and I could probably still get a little green out of there, but not very much. So I'm to prove to you that there's still plenty of red in here. I'm going to use red for this example. So to have a flat, even wash, I'm going to make a puddle of red in my pan, or my little mixing dish here. And all I'm doing is wiggling around in there. I don't have to mash my brush down in there. I'm just wiggling it around, and you can see the color on the brush. And then I'm kind of rinsing it off in my cup over here. Now, it's a good idea to have a piece of paper around so you can test how dark the color is, because you might want it darker at some points and lighter in others. The more water you have in your watercolor wash, the lighter it's going to be. And the more paint you add, the darker it's going to be. And notice I keep getting water out of my water dish to help loosen up the color, and then put it in my cup. I'm happy with how dark that is. So I'm going to dip in my color, and I'm going to wipe off a little bit on the side. The most important part of watercolor is to know how much water you have on your brush, and that I can shake my brush a little bit and the water does not come off. There will be no splattering for this assignment, no splatter. And I'm just going to use the very tip of my brush to pull my color along. And I like to outline first, and there's weird stuff in my water from my dish, but that shouldn't happen to your painting. Okay, there's my even wash. So simple. And I still have plenty of paint left here. So you can practice. When you go to practice, I want you to practice making, draw out some different shapes, and you can use pencil or crayon. Crayon shows up very nicely if it's a dark color. And you can practice outlining. And I'm not dragging the whole brush across the paper. And I go pretty quickly so that the whole shape can be kind of drying at the same time. And that one even has darkened up a little bit since I painted it, because colors tend to dry a little bit darker. The longer I let the paint sit and dry and kind of soak into the paper and the water evaporates, and I put another coat on there, that's going to make it darker. We can always make your watercolor darker. We cannot make it lighter very well. You got to start out with color or with water in your dish, but we can't really take it away very much from the paper once you get it on it. This metal part on my brush, it's not always metal on the brush, but this part, the ferrule, it helps hold the bristles on. The ferrule should never, ever, ever touch the surface of your paper. If it does, it will scratch it up and it will make your painting look terrible. That will show up big time. And that's a lot of color. So I'm going to use it on my painting that I started. Now to rinse my brush, I'm just going to tap gently on the bottom of the, never swish. And I'm going to wipe off the excess or side of my bowl. I am not flipping my brush. That will put water everywhere, and water in the wrong places can ruin your painting. So please be careful of that. When you do your washes, a wash is an even application of watercolor, thinned with water. Please do not use your color directly out of the watercolor pan.